In the movie 127 Hours, Aaron gets trapped after he helps two lost girls find their way. With no one around to help, Aaron faces many challenges to escape and tries to survive. Keep watching to know his survival attempts. The film tells the story of a boy named Aaron. One day, Aaron went to a lonely place for hiking. This area was completely deserted. There was no one around for miles. While hiking, Aaron met two girls who were lost. He asked them, "Can I help you?" and quickly walked over to them. Aaron showed the girls the right path and decided to guide them on their journey. After they walked for a while, he told them, "I know another direction, and I promise you will have a lot of fun on this journey." They started moving through the mountains, and the paths were very narrow. When they reached a certain spot, Aaron jumped down. The girls were scared, thinking he had fallen. However, Aaron called to them from below. He had landed in a pool of water. He then encouraged both girls to jump down as well. One by one, they jumped in and had a great time splashing around. Afterward, they continued their hike. Aaron had to move forward for his hiking trip while the girls needed to go home. Before parting, they took a selfie together. Aaron asked, "Will we meet again?" One of the girls replied, "We have a party tomorrow night, you should come." Aaron said goodbye and headed into the mountains. He felt excited and enjoyed his hike, but the paths were very narrow and risky. As he climbed down two steep mountains, he came across a big rock. While he was leaning on it for support, the rock suddenly slipped, and poor Aaron began to fall. The rock also rolled down and landed on his right hand. Now, Aaron found his hand trapped under the rock in the narrow mountain path. He was not badly hurt, but he could not free his hand. He struggled hard to pull it out, but it was no use. Realizing he might not be able to get free, Aaron started shouting for help, but his voice could not be heard in the narrow area. With no one around, he opened his bag and took out all the hiking gear he had brought with him. He knew he needed to escape, as no one might come to this place for months. Among his gear was a knife, which he used to try to break the rock. However, the rock was too strong, and the knife had no effect on it. His right hand got trapped, making it hard for him to use his left hand as well. Despite this, Aaron did not give up. He kept trying to break the rock. Suddenly, his knife slipped from his grip and fell away from him. He could not reach it, but he found a way to drag the knife back towards him. Once he had the knife, he started to cut the rock again, but it was no use. The rock was so solid that the knife became dull. Night fell quickly, and many hours passed while Aaron remained stuck. He felt confused and did not know how to escape, so he kept struggling to free his hand. The next morning arrived, and it had been 25 hours since Aaron got trapped. He still saw no way to get out. He turned on his camera and started recording a message. In the video, he said, "I have been stuck here for the last 25 hours, and no one knows I am here. I didn't tell anyone before I came, and I have very little food left. I only have about 400 to 500 ml of water to drink." While he recorded, he heard a noise from above, and he began shouting for help. Unfortunately, no one answered his calls. A few hours later, night fell again. Aaron started to feel hungry, so he ate the little food he had left. He remembered that the girls had invited him to dinner that night and thought there would be good food. Aaron began to imagine the party and talk to himself about it. He recalled leaving his house for hiking on Saturday and remembered his mother calling him. He did not answer her call, hiding that he was leaving for his hike. If he had told her, she might have come looking for him. Now, no one knew where Aaron was. On the third day, which was Monday, Aaron made a small wheel using ropes. He tied the rock to the wheel and tried to lift it by pulling on the opposite end of the rope. However, the rock did not budge no matter how hard he pulled. He then tried to move the rock by trapping the rope with his feet, but that effort also failed. Aaron's troubles grew as 3 days had passed. Now, Aaron had run out of drinking water. With nothing to do, he spent his time looking closely at everything around him. He noticed a bird flying high in the sky, but he could not move from his spot. Aaron only had 15 minutes of sunlight each day in that mountain area, because the sun soon disappeared behind the peaks. He felt frustrated because he was very hungry in such a difficult situation. Finally, he decided that he would have to cut off his hand. He tied his forearm tightly and tried to cut his arm with the knife he had, but the knife was too dull. It could not even cut through the thin layer of his skin. Disappointed, Aaron recorded a message on his camera saying, "Never buy cheap tools, they are useless." Another day passed, and as night fell, Aaron thought about his past. He missed his family, close friends, and many others. Suddenly, the sky became cloudy, and heavy rain started to fall. Since he had no water left, he began to fill his bottle with rainwater. Water began to flow into the narrow mountain area where Aaron was stuck, and soon the water level started to rise. Aaron began to panic as the water surrounded him. Since the water was denser, things started to float, including him. He tried to lift the rock that trapped his hand while he was in the water. After a lot of effort, he finally managed to lift the rock and his hand was freed. Feeling hopeful, Aaron ran toward his car, excited to escape. He imagined driving away in freedom. However, this was just a dream. In reality, he was still trapped in the mountain area. Feeling desperate, he shouted loudly once more. He started to see things that weren't there because he had been trapped for many days. 4 days had gone by, and now it was his 5th day. His behavior and thinking changed a lot. He talked to himself, laughed, and said that if he had answered his mother's call that day, or told her where he was going, he might not have been stuck there. He also mentioned that he didn't tell the shop where he bought his hiking gear, so they couldn't report him missing. Aaron said to his parents that he loved them very much. He recorded all of this because he had lost hope of getting out. He felt thirsty, hungry, and weak because the heavy rock kept him stuck. He tied his hand again, and instead of trying to cut his hand off with his dull knife, he used the knife to stab into his hand. He stabbed deep enough to hit the bone and blood started to flow, but he didn't try to go further. Another day passed. When the 6th day came, Aaron was in bad shape. He was very weak and thought he might die if he didn't get free soon. He felt like the rock was waiting for him his whole life. He even wrote "Rest in Peace" on the rock along with his name and birthday, because he was sure he wouldn't make it out alive. He had lost all his courage and felt exhausted. On the next day, he started to see things again and imagined a little baby, who he thought might be his future son. This vision made him emotional and gave him some strength. He began to push his trapped hand in the opposite direction, which broke the bone in his hand. He also sharpened his knife and slowly started to cut off his hand. On the 6th day, he managed to free himself from the rock after cutting off his hand. He took a photo of the hand still stuck in the rock before leaving. Aaron climbed out of the mountains with great difficulty. When he got out, he saw some rainwater still there. He drank a lot because he hadn't eaten or drunk anything for 6 days. After that, he moved on and saw a bird flying in the sky just like he used to see every day. He felt free like that bird, but it was still tough to get out of the area. It was wide and empty, but Aaron didn't lose hope and kept moving despite the pain. Then he saw a family that had come hiking. He called them for help and they ran to him. They called security, and a helicopter landed to take him to the hospital. Later, Aaron recovered completely. He also realized his dream of having a family when he met a girl 3 years later, and they got married. Then their child was born, looking just like the baby Aaron had seen in his vision. During those 6 days, Aaron faced death but never lost his spirit. He continued to climb mountains and go hiking. He made sure to write about his adventures. This story is based on true events. It really happened that Aaron was trapped in those mountains for 6 days. The film ended with this scene.